Hello, River of Life Community Fellowship. It is time once again for another midweek check-in. So by the time you watch this video, I'll be on vacation. I'm going on vacation, and when you're watching this video, I will be somewhere in Colorado. But I wanted to still take the time to encourage you in the middle of the week. So I made sure to pre-record this video. Now, at the time I'm recording this video, Sunday hasn't happened yet. So Dan Mueller is coming. He's going to be, speaking this Sunday. But since I don't know what he's speaking about, I can't encourage you with what he said. I can't enunciate what he said or anything like that. But I still wanted to take the time to encourage you this week, even though I'm on vacation. And so I decided I'm going to encourage you with something that God taught me recently, just this month even. And, it had a lot to do with the wildfire smoke that we see. Every summer we deal with at least one point in the summer where we have a lot of wildfire smoke in the atmosphere. And, it's always interesting to me, the sunlight coming through the window has an orangish hue to it. And when the smoke's really thick, you can look straight at the sun and it's just this bright disc in the sky, but you can look at it clearly without hurting your eyes. And it's always interesting to me, but it also reminds me of something that happened to me when I was in college. I was in the National Guard. As many of you know, I spent time in the Guard, and in the summer of 2000, there were a couple of forest fires in the Black Hills. End of July, beginning of August, there were a couple of forest fires called the Elk Mountain 2 Complex Fire is what it was, these two forest fires were called together. And being in the National Guard, I was asked if I would provide support for the firefighters by driving them around in an Army truck. And so, being in college, the state active duty pay was pretty good. So I said yes, and I went out and did this for 6 days. And what I would do is I'm driving my big 2.5-ton Army truck, and I had a partner, and he was driving a Chevy truck, an Army Chevy truck called the Cut V. And he was driving the Cut V. I was driving the Deuce and a Half. And what we do is, in the morning, we'd be at the camp there where all the firefighters were staying, and the fire crews would take their equipment, put it in the back of the pickup, and then they would hop in the back of my truck, and we would drive them out to where they needed to be that day. So we would drive them out, we'd drop them off, and then we would go to what was called a safe area, and we would sit there and we would wait. Usually 8 hours, 10 hours. And then the fire crews would come back, or we'd go pick them up, and then we'd drive back to the camp. And that was kind of the days for 6 days. But there was one thing that happened, particularly one day that it sticks out to me so clearly, even now, 20 years later. We did the normal thing. We got up, got our trucks ready, drove the fire crews out to the fire line, dropped them off. This time we're actually dropping them off in a safe zone. What's called a safe zone. It was called a safe zone because it was an area that the fire had already burned. And so the fire couldn't burn there again. So it was safe for us to be there. We stopped there. The fire crews got off, and they hiked down the hill, and they off to their area to do their thing. And they were gone a while, and then they came back and got in the truck, and we were driving back to camp. And we were driving along this single lane gravel road in the Black Hills. There's tons of them out there. Driving along this road, and the fire is somewhere off to our left, and just driving along this road. This road was actually considered a fire break. It was as the planners of this firefighting effort were looking, they said this is a spot where, as if the fire comes up to this road, it shouldn't be able to cross because there's an area of no trees and no grass. And so it would be a break that the fire would lose fuel and it wouldn't be able to burn past. So that was the plan. And so we're driving along this road, and we get to a spot where the road kind of curves, and there was a meadow off to the right, but there was a stand of trees right on the edge of the meadow where this road curved. And there was some fire burning in this stand of trees. The fire embers from the fire had blown into it and started a fire there. And so, this particular day, we actually had an area fire manager with us. And so he's like, stop. The firefighters need to take care of this. So we stop, and they get out, and my partner and I are just standing by our trucks watching them. And they get in this double line, and they start working along the edge of this stand of trees, just tearing up the ground. They're tearing up a 2-foot wide stretch of ground where there would be no grass, just dirt, nothing for the fire to burn to stop this fire from burning out of this little stand of trees. But as they're working, the area fire boss was there, and he's kind of talking. He's muttering under his breath a little bit, looking around. He seeming to get a little agitated. And then he started cussing and using some words that, aren't right for pleasant company. And he kind of doing this, and he looked more and more agitated. And then finally he turns to us, my partner and I, and he says, "You guys need to go back to the safe zone." So when an experienced firefighter, wildland firefighter, tells unexperienced truck driver me to go back to the safe zone, I'm not going to argue. So my partner and I, he gets in his truck and he we're on a single lane road, so we have to find a spot to turn around. There was a entryway into a logging trail just a little bit up. So he drove up, he pulled in, he backed out, and it went the other way. And then I pulled up to it. I pulled forward and then backed into it, and I'm getting ready to put the truck back in first gear so I could pull out. And I look in my mirror and I just see a wall of orange. And it felt like it was like 2 feet behind me. It was probably more like 30, but it was just this wall of fire right behind. It felt like it was right behind my truck. And so I'm like, okay, I pop it into first. I drop the clutch and I go. And, we get back to the safe area, and then an hour later, the crew shows up again, and we drive them back. They were able to contain that spot, and everything worked out for the best. But it, as the wildfire smoke was in the area here this month, it reminded me of that. It reminded me of that happening. And then, I don't know, the Holy Spirit spoke something to me about that. We were in the safe area, and that was important for us because we didn't know what we were doing. We would have been a liability if we would have been out there trying to do something. We were sent to the safe area, but the firefighters were not. They were the only time they were in the safe area was when we were dropping them off or picking them up. That was it. Other than that, they were in a dangerous area. But in order for them to be effective at what they were doing, they had to be in the dangerous area. They had to be in an area where the fire was probably going to burn so that they could create a fire break that would stop the fire there. And if they would have stayed in the safe area, they would have been ineffective in their job. The fire would have continued to rage out of control, destroying millions of acres of forest land. And so they had to be in the danger zone. And the Holy Spirit spoke this to me, and he just reminded me that for us as Christians, there's so much time that where we really exercise our faith is in the safe zone. We come to church, or we go to a Bible study, or, things like that. We exercise our faith in these safe places. But then when we're out in the world, when we're out in the dangerous places, we tend to not to. We just kind of go about our day and do whatever, but we don't really live out our faith in the places that we really need to, in the places where it will be most effective for transforming the lives of the people around us. And that's really, what we want to be doing is we want to transform people's lives. We want them to see the hope that is found in the gospel so that their life can be changed for the better. We want to pull them out of this life, this meaninglessness and this despair that life can bring, and bring them into a place of hope and purpose. That's what God called us to do. That's what God told us to do. But so many times we camp out in the safe zone instead of taking our faith into these dangerous places. And, we need to be doing that. One of the things that Jesus told us when he was here was he said, "I am sending you out as sheep among wolves." That's what he's doing. He's taking us and sending us to the dangerous areas so that we can live a life that encourages people, that glorifies God, that shows them the truth of the faith that has changed our lives, and gives them an opportunity to have their life changed too. That is what we need to do. And so my encouragement today is that you get out of the safe zone. You take yourself, you live your faith in places other than the church, when you're at work, when you're hanging out with friends, when you're at the park, when you're going to the bowling alley, no matter what you're doing, that you're always living out your faith so that the people that are there can see it and they can understand that there's a hope that comes through that faith that you have, and that through that their lives can be transformed. That is our hope, that we will transform lives. And we can't do that if we're camping in the safe zone. So get out of the safe zone, allow God to use you in the lives of the people he brings into your path, and just allow the living out of your faith out in the world to be a beacon of hope and light in a dark place. That's my encouragement for you today. I hope and pray that you're connecting with God and that you're seeing God use you in amazing ways. Thanks, and God bless.